Oh yes. What's up guys, welcome back to the vlog. We've got day 2 of the RX-8 AccuAir suspension install. Got my boy Ricky with me here as always. Already getting started on a little mounting board for our air tank. As you guys saw in part 1, we got all of our lines ran and got everything basically set up to where we could get the air tank in the car and get things routed properly. So what we've decided to do is actually build a board that's going to sit on this flat area. It will then be covered up by the factory carpet. We're actually going to clean this up quite a bit or look for a new piece because it is kind of hammered. The nice thing about AccuAir is they actually come with a nice template, so you know to scale where everything's going to sit. Shows us our 3 mounting points, and we will be able to lay this right on top of our beauty board. Well, not a beauty board, but our mounting board.
It's our beauty board.
Once it's cut out and ready to go. So we've sussed out exactly where everything's going to be. Now it's time to actually make some cuts and get this board in place. We will be securing this board to the chassis, that way the tank can't move. This is going to be a really simple install, straightforward. So we're going to go ahead and get started.
Alright guys, so this is the platform that me and Mickey just cut, and we just have it in the back of the RX-8 right now. If you guys can see, I also cut off this piece of, I don't know if you guys can see it or not, this groove right here. It's about 1.5 inches long, and what that's going to do is going to help us stabilize the platform for the tank. That way it won't be rocking left and right. So what we got to do now is put a couple of screws on it so it can stay in place, put the carpet over the trunk, and then mount the tank over it, and then we can start running and adjusting our air lines and our wiring for it.
Alright, so we've got everything sort of laid out. As you guys saw, we got the board cut out. Ricky and I have actually taped down the awesome template from AccuAir to the board, and we're now using a center punch and the template to actually drill the holes for the feet mounts for the tank. Once these holes are drilled out, actually, we won't really need to drill these because we're just going to use self-tapping screws.
Right.
So we're actually going to self-tap these to the MDF piece of wood and get the tank sort of in the car and get our placements right. That way we know that everything's going to bolt back in when we go to do that. And at that point we can actually position the carpet as well in over top of the board. This is a pretty cool process. It's actually very simple and straightforward if you read the AccuAir instruction manual and take your time. If you rush this process, you'll probably screw some things up. So take your time, read through the manual. The manual is very important. Everything you need to know is in the instruction manual. I promise you that. Alright, so I forgot that we actually had some T-nuts that I purchased when I did TJ's installation, and we didn't use them. So what these are, I actually went to the hardware store and picked up an M6 T-nut. It's called T-E-E nut. These nuts.
These nuts.
Anyway, we've got 6 of these. We're going to use these on the bottom of our MDF. And then we've got some M6, some brand new M6 bolts that are the exact right length for what we're doing. This is going to be a really tidy install, being that we have the right bits here, which is awesome. So before you start with these installs, maybe a good idea to go grab some T-nuts and some, I use an M6 flange head bolt. I'm used to working in metric stuff. All the AccuAir stuff is SAE. So some things I like to swap over to metric just because we have more of those tools and those bits laying around the shop. Next on the list of things to do is actually get the controller wiring put in the car. So for our switch speed controller, which is here, which I showed you guys yesterday, this is the cable for it, and it plugs into our switch speed ECU, which we're going to mount in the trunk. We'll get onto that next. But routing this up the center console is the next thing in line, so that we have wiring to our controller so that our driver can use it. This needs to be routed from whatever side of the car you're going to put the ECU on. For us, it's going to be the driver's side because we already have some power wires up here and our grounding wire already here. So we're going to run our ECU probably somewhere up here is my guess. And for this installation, we're going to use foam tape. I'm actually going to use a nice 3M foam tape on the back of this ECU and mount it up on the side wall of the car. The foam tape provides two things for us. We can remove this very easily with the foam tape in place instead of screwing. And the foam tape also allows some vibration resistance as well for the ECU. So mount it however you want. We're using foam tape, but that means I need to lop off these two ears. Acura does an awesome job designing this ECU case with multiple ears on it and tabs for mounting, and you just remove the ones you don't need. So we're gonna go ahead and remove these back ones, use this as our mating surface onto the car with our 3M tape, and then everything else will plug into this side and we're good to go. This is the same exact process we used in, hey Ricky, nice shirt, guy. It's pretty nice, it's really nice. Really nice shirt you have there. Anyway, I'm gonna head over and lop off these ears. So using the grinding wheel is a real crude way of doing that, but it accomplished what we needed to accomplish. We now have a flat surface to mount. I'll go ahead and clean up the rough edge that we just made with the grinding wheel with a razor blade and a file, and we'll be well on our way to mounting this thing. Alright, so I've gone ahead and got the ECU mounted. You guys can see it right here. It's mounted underneath our taillight in a really a good location, I think. As you can see when you look down, you can't see it, so it's going to sit behind our carpeting in here. And that will allow us to route all of the wiring around up here and underneath the rear seat up to the front. I've already got the switch speed controller wire set here, and I've run a piece of airline through to the front into the corner. So what I'll do is I'll actually just use some electrical tape. I'll use some electrical tape and just tape this to the airline and pull it through. We're gonna have to do that a couple times with our power wire and things. But man, there's a lot of noise happening. Let's go see what's going on out here. Ricky, I'm trying to make a video in here, bud.
Sorry. It's gonna be clean though.
So Ricky's outside here, outside the shop, just power washing and scrubbing this carpet because the old owner used to keep premix in the trunk, and one of the bottles of premix must have spilled at some point. So we're just power washing this and scrubbing it with some soap. That way when it dries, it's like new, and we can pop this back in with our tank. So lots of things happening around here. We'll keep you guys up to speed with the next step as we get going, get all these wires routed and start hooking things up. Okay, so Ricky helped me get the wire for the switch speed controller underneath the rear seat. We actually found a factory clip here that has a empty slot in it, so we actually were able to put that in the slot to hold it into place, which is really nice. For me, the more stock looking this is, when somebody pulls the seats out, the better. So what we're going to do is actually run it under the carpet, up underneath the center console, and then up to here. What's cool about this is when we go from switch speed to E level, we literally just change out the controller, or we can have the programmer re-controlled, or we can have the programmer Jesus Christ. What's nice about this is when we do the upgrade to E level, we can actually just, this wire will stay in place. We just unplug our switch speed controller, put E level controller in, and it's good to go. Or I believe you can even get the switch speed controller reprogrammed. Either way, when we do the upgrade, this will already be in. It'll be super easy. Boom, boom, we're done.
Alright guys, so we're right back on this RX-8 trunk setup. So right now the piece of wood that we cut out the platform is under the piece of carpet, and we already bolted down the brackets and the holders for the tank. Here are the lines for the back, nope, for the front, and then here are the lines for the back. So the next step is going to be do some more wiring for the tank, and then pretty much just bolt the tank back up, and then we should be ready to test.
Sweet.
One eternity later.
1 million years later, Ricky and I have had our lunch breaks, and we are on to wiring the switch speed system and our valve units, which are awesome and are built into the Endo VT tank. For you rookies out there, Endo means inside and VT means valve and tank, which means the valves are built into the tank, as opposed to having an external valve block, which is how other systems run, and old AccuAir systems run their valves. It's like an actual extra valve block that you mount somewhere else. Having them built into the tank is really cool because it's less things you have to mount, and all the wiring basically goes to your tank instead of having extra wiring outside of the tank. So what Ricky and I are trying to do here is basically make this as tidy as possible. AccuAir does a really good job of color coding all the wiring and things, and everything is basically right out of the box ready to go. You just have to connect the dots. And one other thing I really like about the AccuAir system is it comes with heat shrink and also, I guess, wiring loom is the best way to call it.
Luxury wiring loom.
Luxury wiring loom, Ricky says. And so basically what we're doing is we're gonna route this behind the tank so it's hidden. So we're just using some little zip ties to kind of hold everything together. You could make it even more flash and utilize these holes that are in the extrusion from AccuAir. Already there's threaded holes here. And you could even get little,
which we probably will.
You get little plastic clips to bolt into here and hold this in place. Definitely not something that's necessary, but if you want to do a really nice clean install, it's probably the way to go, and we'll probably end up doing that. I guess one thing we should address is on the main harness, this plugs into our switch speed controller, our ECU, the brains of the operation. This is our main harness plug. This has our dimmer switch. This is our compressor relay wiring. This is our 12 volt ignition wiring, our battery 12 volt here, so constant. One of the things that we have on here is actually a pressure sensor switch with a nice weather pack plug on it. We did not opt to run the upgraded pressure switch, which plugs directly into this harness. It's another 50 bucks. What we're trying to do here is show you guys that you don't have to spend top dollar to have your car on air. This switch speed system is very affordable. It's a very basic air system that's pressure based. So that said, we didn't upgrade to the plug and play pressure switch, which would have been $50 well spent in our opinion. Yep, it's less wiring. So basically we're gonna wire a relay inline, the pressure switch, and it just basically requires a bit more work. So we're gonna go ahead and knock out that wiring now. That way we can get everything plugged into our ECU. And honestly, once all that stuff's done, all the wiring's done here, we're gonna click the tank in, send some power to this thing, and it's basically ready to go. Well, I guess aside from getting the compressor in place, we have to mount our compressor. Again, we opted for a Vire compressor on this switch speed setup to keep costs down. And basically what we're gonna do is, this has rubber feet on it. We're basically just gonna screw this into our beauty board that we made in here in front of the tank. Again, guys, this is the most basic of basic air setups. We just wanted to show you guys that it can be done. You can airbag your car for relatively inexpensive, and this is the way to do it. We're gonna keep plugging away here, and we're hoping to have this thing operating here in the next coming hour or so.
2 hours later.
All right, boys, so we've got a bunch of the wiring done. Pretty much everything is settled on the AccuAir switch speed system for the day. We've basically tackled all the wiring. It is all left loose at the moment. This will all get loomed up and tucked away behind the interior panels when it's done. But this is how the setup looks. We've got a very basic setup. We've got our Endo VT tank, which has the valves built in, as you know. And we've got our Vire compressor that is mounted on our board underneath as well. And then the air line wraps around to the back to fill the tank. We've got our front and rear air lines fitted to each side of the tank, and all of the wiring as well. It looks pretty tidy. Once those carpet panels are on there and there, it's gonna look super clean. Ricky, thank you so much for tackling all the wiring today while I was working on other things. We ran into a bit of a problem tonight. It is late. Everybody else has gone home like usual. Ricky and I are always the ones here pulling second shift. But we both got to get out of here to go spend time with our family. So we're gonna call it a day on this. We do have power to the system. We haven't checked anything else other than we know the valves are clicking. Yep. And the reason we can't go any further, besides us having to go home to our families, is that the battery is flat drained on this car. So without a battery with a charge on it, we're really just beating our heads against the wall. So we're gonna let it charge overnight, come back in the morning, put the wheels on this bad boy, and we should be going up and down like champs.
Yes, sir.
So that's a wrap on the day. Thank you guys so much for subscribing to the channel. Thanks for all the wonderful comments and thumbs up. We really appreciate it. Throttle family is the best family. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Psych, we're back. Did you really think we were gonna leave without seeing this thing work?
Nope.
We rigged it up, we got the battery working, we got some lug nuts on the wheels, got this thing on the ground for the first time under its own power. It's only fitting that we roll it off the lift and put this thing on its belly. Don't worry, I got this. Come on, brother. There you go, you're good. Good, 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 good. And all the way down.
Oh yes. The back's faster actually. Bro, this thing is insanely low.
Well guys, it was a long day. This should have went a lot quicker. We had a lot of other things going on around here today, meetings and stuff away from the camera, but Ricky and I got it done. Special thanks to Ricky. If you don't follow him on Instagram already, you're missing out. You can see him at running_solo right down below. And yeah, we'll be back. We're gonna fine tune this thing. We'll show you guys how to do all the presets on the switch speed controller. There's 3 different speeds you can select for up and down. We'll probably also play with the level control because you can adjust how fast the front and rear goes down. That's one of the bitchin' parts of the endo tank. So we'll hit on the features now that this is all set up, and we gotta get this thing off the paint. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Thank you for your subscription. Thank you for your comments and your likes. We appreciate it. We'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.